Friends, hello and welcome back. So, without quite, I got to know right off the bat. I got to know right off the bat if you're a Buffalo fan. I got to know right off the bat if you're a Colorado. What are the opinions of this trade? I'm confused. I shouldn't say I'm confused, but I'm still trying to put it all together. Because see, you look at the Colorado side. Colorado said, "All right, we'll pick up Mittelstadt, pick up a center, pick up a guy that we feel like can be a top 6 player, a much needed depth player," and then they trade away Byram. And you think, okay, well, they're moving on from Byram because they got some surplus on the defensive side. But then they make the trade with Philadelphia to pick up Sean Walker. They trade away Johansson. And it's like, okay, maybe they don't have it all of a sudden because now all of a sudden they're giving up first-round draft picks in order to acquire players. And that's where, for Colorado, that's where it gets confusing for me. I think it's just, in Colorado's eyes, I'd have to guess they're saying, okay, well, we didn't believe Ryan Johansson can fit the bill to be anything. He's not what he once was. And, the injuries, whatever, all that going on. We're moving on from that because, he's under contract next year as well. And hopefully a guy like Mittelstadt can be the future of this team behind McKinnon, behind, Ranton and these guys because they do, we see now when they was Stanley Cup winners where they did finally bring, was it Kadri that year, right? They had some great second line depth, and that's the thing with this team. They drafted 3 freaking studs. Everything else has really been traded and signed, which kind of blew my mind. But on the other hand, if you're Buffalo, you're trading away one, a team that, currently worse defensive or offensive than they are defensively. So you're trading away one of your offensive pieces. Not a powerhouse, but he's still, a really, really solid player. I mean, he's going to give you 45, 50, 55 points a season, possibly pot 20. Now you're bringing in Bowen Byran, who I still think, Buffalo's probably thinking the same thing. We move on from Mittelstadt and we try to play the Byram game. And this was once a 4th overall pick, highly touted defenseman, still only 22 years old. You bring him in and hope he can take the next big step. But if you're looking at the bigger picture for Buffalo, you say, okay, what if he does take the next big step? Now you got Owen Power, Dahlin, and Meyer. You're loaded with defensemen. What's the game plan there? So from that perspective, I'm a little bit confused what these teams are doing. From a pure trade perspective, I mean, it is a trade that both teams can really win here. Again, we just brought it up. Colorado, they need to work on, again, anything past the first line. They need to get some depth, and that's so important come playoffs to get some other lines that can produce. Colorado's looking at bring in Mittelstadt. He can be that guy. He can be that cog. He can be that, stability around this team. Meanwhile, Buffalo says, you know what? He's got 1 year left on an arbitration eligible. We don't know if we're going to continue on with this guy, but we can bring in a young Bowen Byran. A guy that still, we believe, maybe we can develop a little bit more. Maybe if you get some more playing time, maybe you can do a better piece for this team. And we move forward and we do play. And if that's the style Buffalo wants to play, is this smash mouth, heavily defensive style of hockey, you bring him in and you move forward in that direction. Because it does feel like, out of the 2 players, Byram does have the higher ceiling still, being that he is a few years younger. And Buffalo tries to make it work in that regard. We'll see what EA thinks. Again, I think it's a trade that could work out for both teams. It really could be. I think when you walk into a trade and you look who really fleeced the other one and you're really thinking about it and you can't figure it out, it could be a trade that works out really well for both teams. We'll see. Only time will tell. In Mittelstadt, you project him to slot in as center number 2. Colton moving down to the 3rd line. Byram, of course, we'll see. He's got him slotted at the top line. We'll see what they do there. Probably be on that 2nd. Maybe even put him on the 3rd a little bit until he finds his groove on there. We'll see what happens there. Nonetheless, we got to see how these 2 teams produce with this trade going through. Colorado, as per the usual, as expected, a dominant team this season. So far, looking like a trade that, definitely didn't impact their success. They're going to win this division pretty handedly ahead of the Winnipeg Jets entering the play. And again, unless things fall to pieces. But, it looks like they're going to go out and mess around and win a President's this season with Casey Mittelstadt and company out there. About 113 points, it looks like. Yeah, they're going to get the Kings. Meanwhile, how'd Buffalo look this season? How did Mittelstadt look on his team statistics-wise? Rantanen dropped 104 points. Second liner Mittelstadt dropped 64. Again, hey, he's going to give you 27 goals, 64 points. I think Colorado walks away very happy with that. Meanwhile, we head on over to, that'd be the AHL. Meanwhile, we head on over to Buffalo. Buffalo picks up Bowen Byran. Byran drops 37 points. And that was a story too. If you can pick up a defenseman that scores 10, 15 goals a year, plays solid defense, you got to be happy with that too if you're Buffalo. +6 out of Bowen Byran, pretty solid numbers statistically there on Buffalo, just depending on how this team did in general. 3.55 goals for, 2.68 goals against. Colorado was nasty this season. Meanwhile, in Buffalo missed playoffs. Not looking too hot. 3.38 goals for, or goals allowed, 3.09 goals for per game. Again, goals for per game down a little bit there. You kind of expected that. I was like, hey, Buffalo's not... There wasn't a powerhouse offensively already, and it seemed like they had some, I felt like, and this is why you ask Buffalo fans, because Buffalo knows their team better than anybody. They watch them every day. It felt like they had a better team put together, a better core already defensively than they did offensively. But again, maybe you want your identity to be more defensive, and you just want to try to fit the proper players in your scheme offensively and win games that way. And that can be done too. We've seen teams do that in the past. Looks like Colorado might get upset in their first or second round by the Winnipeg Jets. It's not going to happen. They're going to face the Vegas Golden Knights in the second round, and they're going to walk into the Stanley Cup Finals against the Tampa Bay Lightning. The rematch. Will they take this one as well? They will not. Tampa's going to win the Stanley Cup. Colorado going to make the Stanley Cup Finals and give up the 31st overall pick in this situation, it looks like. Nonetheless, hope you all enjoyed the video. Love y'all's thoughts. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.